Hey everyone, I'm Terry G. Thanks a lot for stopping by to my podcast. Tonight I'm going to ask you a question. I'm trying to think up a name I could call this on a weekly basis. I don't know what to call it. More Recovery Podcast, Let's Get Sober Podcast, Terry G and his G Notes, Silver Chat. Why don't you put down in the comments today what you think my podcast should be called. I want to come up with a name and let's make a little fun. You've got some ideas, put it on the board and let's talk about them, okay? Let's talk about them. I just want to say to all of you, it's really good for you to it's really nice of you to pass by. I'm in a different room today. I'm in my Sweetie Pie's classroom. She's a tutor and I'm in a classroom, so it's a little better atmosphere for me anyways. Usually I'm in the basement, you know, down in the basement, no sun, no nothing. But I just want to thank you all for passing by. Like I say in my disclaimer, I'm Terry G. I'm not a therapist. I have no schooling in the addiction field. I'm not a counselor or whatsoever. What I basically am and what I am a recovering alcoholic whose journey or his agenda in life feels like my agenda in life is to build awareness about alcoholism in our communities, in our families, in our cities, in our country. Alcoholism is a major, major problem in our society. It really, really is. Like I say, it takes the second seat to addiction right now because of fentanyl, but alcohol is still a huge problem, okay? So that's what I want to start off with. I also want to say, if you have any comments that you'd like to add or any questions you want to add, but you want me to talk about or you have anything you want to ask about addiction, just 1 second here. I just want to get things together here. By all means, you can ask me a question about addiction. But tonight's topics are basically, I want to talk about the ups and downs of your life in addiction. Like, what are you experiencing in early recovery that is significant to you? Either on a negative up, like an up, are you experiencing a great recovery in early recovery? And what downs are you experiencing? Like, how's your family accepting you? How's your employer accepting you in your drinking? You know, we can talk about stuff like that because in early recovery, I had a huge problem with that. The ups and downs of recovery was major. It really was. So we could just talk about that if you like. Just give me a second here. I just want to make sure my audio is okay. If I'm coming across too loud, just let me know, okay? Another thing I want to talk about tonight is something that really plagued me in early recovery is loneliness. Loneliness in recovery, especially in those beginning months or years or when we first get recovery, because loneliness can be a major, major hurdle when it comes to recovery. I know for myself, it really was. I had huge problem with loneliness. And I always say, there's two kinds of loneliness. Okay, are you listening here? There's two types of loneliness. There's the kind of loneliness that where you're in a forest and you're by yourself and you're physically alone. There's that physical loneliness that we all know. No one's in the house, no one's around us, and we feel alone. But the one that I think that affects alcoholics a lot is the second loneliness. The feeling of loneliness, even when we're in a crowd, or even like when we're around a lot of people, we still have that sense of disconnect, that feeling of loneliness. And that really, really plagues a lot of alcoholics in early recovery or a recovery that, you know, can be months or years. That's why going to meetings is important. And how important they are. They can help you with that loneliness. But a lot of us feel lonely because, well, the second loneliness, we feel lonely in a crowd. We feel lonely, we feel by ourselves because in early recovery is so difficult because we have so many problems, so many issues that we have to address. For myself, I had criminal charges. I had a lot of stuff going on in early recovery, a lot of emotional upheaval. And it made me feel very lonely, and it made me feel very detached from people around me. I felt like my problems were all my own problems. They were my problems. That's what I felt. And the more negative emotions we feel, and the more things we feel in recovery that are sort of on the negative side, or things we are dealing with, that will cause loneliness. It really will. Another thing that causes a lot of loneliness in early sobriety is we lose the alcohol. Losing the alcohol in an alcoholic's life can be very lonely, believe me. When I stopped drinking, I lost all my friends. I should say all my friends, but a majority of my friends I did lose. All my drinking buddies. So that causes loneliness. I lost all my excitement, going out to the bar, girlfriends, dancing, all that kind of stuff that made my life full. When I quit drinking, it was all gone. It was all gone. And one of the biggest things that made me lonely also in recovery is when I lost my best friend. And what was that? That was alcohol itself. Alcohol itself was my everything at the end. It really was. I'll just describe what it was like with me in my life we'll say the last month or 2 months of my sobriety. I was a daily drinker. I was drinking every day. I didn't drink large sums of alcohol. I drank maybe 6 or 7 beers, but I drank every day. And on the weekend, I drank a lot more. I drank maybe 12 beers or something like that. I was never a large volume drinker. I just didn't have the capacity to do it. But I was a daily drinker, and I smoked a lot of weed. I did a lot of drugs. But mainly my main drug of choice was alcohol. So as a daily drinker, my life was very chaotic. I had terrible credit. I was very alone. I had my car repoed. The last year of my drinking, I lived in 12 to 13 different places because I never paid my rent, never did stuff like that, so I get the boot. I was having severe heart palpitations. I was having problems sleeping. I had gastro problems, like stomach problems. I would never eat. I only had barley sandwiches, and that's a lot. You know, if you don't know what a barley sandwich is, it's basically a beer. That's what I lived on. But my health, my emotions, my financial life, my relationship life, my work life, every part of my life was affected by alcohol, and it caused a lot of difficulties. And then you can just load up on criminal charges. Okay, assaults, mischiefs, driving without insurance, those kind of things. That's what it was like the last 2 months of my life, 2 or 3 months, basically, of my life. And at this time, I was having blackouts. I was going to the bar daily at this time of my drinking. So alcoholism, what really started off in early life to be something very harmless. I started drinking when I was 13. Something to be very harmless. Towards the end, I couldn't even handle it anymore. It was very hard to handle. Very hard to handle. I knew deep down that I was out of control. I really did. My anger was, I like to say anger because it sounds a little more like less crazy, I guess. My anger really was rage. I was raging out on people. I was making people afraid of me because of my anger. And I also had a lot of fear. I had a lot of fear. I was always carrying a lot of fear, and that fear turned into paranoia. I just want to let everybody know, if you have any questions about your alcoholism or something about a program that you're into, you want to ask me a question, how I deal with certain situations sober, by all means you can ask that. Or if you just want to say hello, you can do that too, okay? We're here every week at Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. I want to thank everybody for sponsoring, like coming by my channel, signing up and becoming members of my channel. It really tells me that there's a need for what I'm doing here, building awareness for alcoholism. There's really a need of that. And if you're an alcoholic, don't be ashamed of it. We're in this together. And there's no shame in admitting that you're an alcoholic and you have problems with alcohol. When I admitted I was an alcoholic and I was defeated and I was down and out, it was relieving. I felt very relieved when I admitted I was an alcoholic. I really did. I got a lot of pats on the back, and a lot of people, well, some people didn't even believe me, and other people did believe me that I was an alcoholic. But when I finally admitted that I was an alcoholic, it was sort of a relief. The floodgates opened up. There's a lot of help. I went to 12-step recovery groups. I went to a lot of different therapy groups. A lot of things opened up in my life, and I went to rehab. That opened up in my life, and that helped me. But it was an effort to sober up. It really was. You know, quitting the alcohol, I always say, was the easy part. Quitting the booze is very, very easy. I thought anyways. I wasn't totally physically addicted to alcohol, and this is only my opinion, but I sure as hell was mentally and emotionally addicted to it. I used alcohol to control my life. If you've heard me speak here before, I've mentioned that before, that I've had alcohol help me control my emotions, help me control my fear, my pain, just life in general. Alcoholism, the alcohol, it seeped into every nook and cranny of my life. It really did. Just want to say my name is Terry G, and if you're just tuning in, this is an alcohol-free life channel. We do this podcast every Thursday. I like to do it every Thursday. And what I want to ask everybody, if you have a question about your alcoholism or something you're experiencing, or you just want to tell me how great your life is going, please leave it in the comments. I'm always open to questions. It doesn't matter what it's about. I will do my best to answer it. And if I can't answer it, you can send me an email and I will get back to you with the answer. Okay? Also, I want to mention that I am not a trained therapist. I'm not a psychiatrist or an addiction counselor. I'm simply a recovering alcoholic that's trying to carry the message that alcoholism is a valid disease, and it's a problem, it's an ailment, mentally, emotionally, and physically, and to build awareness out there about this disease of alcoholism. And one other thing, if you know, don't be ashamed of yourself. Don't think that coming out sort of that you're an alcoholic, that it's shameful. It's really empowering. It really is. I would never have the life that I have right now if I was continuous to drink. I don't even think I'd be alive right now if I continued to drink alcohol. I stopped when I was 30 years old, and I've basically been sober since then. I'm going on 30 years of continuous sobriety, one day at a time. By no means I'm out of the woods, but I sure feel pretty good. I feel pretty good. So when it comes to hopelessness, not hopelessness, when it comes to loneliness, I'm just going to repeat myself about loneliness. And in sobriety, I've read a lot of books, and I've studied the hell out of things, and I understand that there's two types of loneliness. There's the kind of loneliness that we feel when we are alone in a forest, or we're alone in our car, we're alone at home, physically feeling alone. And we all can identify with that type of loneliness. We understand that loneliness because we can see it around us, that we are lonely, right? We're by ourselves. But I find myself in early recovery suffering a lot from this type of loneliness. And the type of loneliness I want to describe is the kind of loneliness where you can be in a full room and still feel that you're by yourself, or still feel that you're alone. And that kind of loneliness is really difficult to understand. It really is. But for myself, because I had so many issues in life, so many negative problems going on in my life, and issues that was inside of me, I like to say that type of loneliness, feeling alone amongst people, was a direct result from my addiction that was carried in to my sober life. Having problems and having emotional difficulties, like myself, court issues, relationships with my family, relationships with my children was terrible. I had a lot of self-worth issues, a lot of, I couldn't read and write, stuff like that. I had a lot of problems going on, a lot of trauma in my life as a child. So when we quit alcohol, we're going to feel alone, man. We're going to feel really, really lonely. That's for sure. And those feelings can make us feel like that. It can make us feel separated from our fellows. That's why going to meetings and talking to people is really important. Or talking to your sponsor, or talking to a therapist, or talking to somebody that you can trust. Because when we start talking to them about our issues or about our problems, and a lot of people in recovery, they'll identify with it. They'll say something back to you that they relate to. We don't judge in recovery, do we? You don't judge, do you? Do you judge? What we do is we identify with it. And that's one of the sure ways of helping you with your loneliness, feeling more attached or more involved in, like, part of, instead of an outsider looking in. Another way that really helps with loneliness is working with other people. I don't care if you're going to the soup kitchen, you're working volunteer at your local church, maybe you go to meetings, you need some help at meetings. Going to those sort of things and getting involved is really great for helping you with loneliness. The type of loneliness that is more the emotional loneliness, not so much the loneliness, like I said, when you're in a forest and you're by yourself. Okay? What are some of the... Hi, Morgan. How you doing, Morgan? Nice to see you. You're one of my regulars. I'm glad you're here. It was getting pretty lonely out here today. It was getting pretty lonely out here, but I'm glad you popped by. Thanks a lot. What are some of the ups and downs in early sobriety that I really had difficulties with? I think one of the biggest problems, or there's a lot of problems in early recovery. I was pretty messed up. But one of the things that when I look back in early recovery is that I thought that I should put everything first before my recovery. I had a way of, like, my ups and downs in recovery. That's what we're talking about here. What I had a problem with in my recovery, I shouldn't say a problem, a perception of recovery, that I should sort of catch up. Like, I had no money, I should get a couple of jobs. I thought that was what I should do because I need to make money. After all, I was basically on the street. And when I entered recovery, it was like fast forward. I should get a job. Well, I had a job, plus I had a night job as a cleaner. And because I couldn't read and write properly, I thought, well, because I can't read and write properly, I should go to school. So I was going to school part-time. So I had 2 jobs because I thought I needed a lot of money, and both jobs paid decent money. I was going to school part-time in early recovery. We're talking the first 6 to 8 months, right? And the other one that we all think, I don't know if you think, but a lot of us think, that we need a girlfriend or we need a partner. So I needed to get out there and get a partner. So that created a lot of problems. Not the partner, but what I did in early recovery. Those kind of things. Trying to make up for lost time. Trying to do those sort of things, put the cart before the horse. And what happened is basically, in my sobriety, I relapsed a couple of times because I didn't put my sobriety or my well-being first. And it's a real hard lesson to learn. It really is, because the whole thing of recovery is to stay sober, right? That's the whole idea of it. But I might just say but the thing is that when you relapse, it's really hard on you. It was hard on me. And not putting my sobriety first before anything, before my kids. And I know people are going to say you can't do that, but it's the truth. Before my kids, before my relationships, before my job, before everything in my life, I had to put me getting better and my sobriety first. And when I did that, when I put my sobriety first, or my well-being first at that time, they say recovery is a selfish way of life, and it's more like a self-care of life. It's amazing how things come about on their own. Because in the beginning of recovery, I had a perception or a need to push life, put my will and push it. Instead of letting it happen, I was forcing it to happen. And I know we all need a job. I know we all want to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a partner. I get that. And we all want to have better education, all those sort of things. But those things, when being sober, are gimmies. They will come to you, all those things. All the things that you need in your life will come to you automatically if you stay sober one day at a time. And you're going to say to yourself, you're full of shit, Terry G. There's no way. Well, there is a way, because you're looking at that person right now, how those things happened. But we need to have a blind faith that things will get better for us if we just put one foot in front of the other and we focus on recovery. We focus on our emotional, our mental, and our spiritual and physical well-being. It really, really does. It really works. It really does. We attract what we are, right? We attract that. Believe it or not. In early recovery, if you're all messed up, you're insecure, you're lonely, you got a lot of difficulties going on, you're going to attract that kind of person towards you, or those kind of things will go towards you. Struggling with feelings. Let me just put it. Struggling with feelings. I should be further in life. Yeah. Like I should own a house, be married, all that stuff. I'm learning that all that will come if I just stay sober. Yeah, that's exactly, Morgan, what I'm talking about. Alcoholism, addiction takes a lot from us. It'll take away your family. It'll take away your children. It'll take away your house, your self-esteem. It'll take away your car. It'll even take away your freedom. Because freedom was just about taken away from me because of my hostility way of life. I was a very angry individual when I drank, and I got in a lot of fights, and I came very close to going to jail. And like, I'm talking really close, but that never happened. God had other plans for me, and that never happened. And coming up into sobriety, like Morgan said, having struggles, feeling I should be further in life. Yeah, I get that. I didn't buy my first house and only help of a partner. I didn't buy my first house till I was 36 years old. I was 36 years old the first time I ever had a mortgage. I was 36, and I was married, and my wife at the time was a good earner, and she could buy the house on her own, but she put me on the mortgage and stuff, and that's how I got my first house. I was 36. I had children at that time. I was the first woman I was with in my drinking days, and when I sobered up, I had 2 children with her. but I was no father. I was not a great father. I was very alcoholic behavior. And when I sobered up, I had a lot of mental health issues, and it caused a lot of problems, believe me. I was an unsuitable father. I regret that part of my life. I regret that part of my life dramatically. But that's what alcoholism did to me. It was an awful situation, you know, and took away my kids, people I loved, everything. So you come into sobriety, when I come into these rooms of recovery or start rebuilding my life, it's like going through mud. It's awful. It really, really is. It feels awful. Wanting to have the house, like Morgan said, wanting to be married, wanting all those sort of things. But alcoholism, drug addiction, whatever your poison is, took that from you. If you were not an alcoholic, or you were not a drug addict or addicted to something, or had a very traumatic childhood, your life would be much different. It really would. It really, really would. And in sobriety, in recovery, clean and sober life, we're blessed kind of, because we get the opportunity to have two lives. We have the life of alcoholism. We have that kind of life. Traumatic, letdowns, sorrow, jail time, crying kids, broken homes, all those kind of things. If your alcoholism took you there, I'm not saying that describes your alcoholism, but it might. We have all those kind of things. But when we come into sobriety, when we come into recovery, we have an opportunity to have a better life and a different life, the life that we were meant to have. So alcoholics sort of are gifted in a way, if you want to look at it like that. And all our dreams will come true. Believe it or not, they really will. They really will. We need to just believe that and have a blind faith that things will get better. They will get better. But you know something? We, me, you, whoever it is, we have to do the work to get there. We have to do the work to get there, and stay committed. I always say sobriety to me is not about happiness or sad or glad or getting a better job. It's not about going to the gym and, you know, working out and all that kind of stuff. Sobriety to me is about commitment. It's about staying committed to myself, that just for today, I will still stay clean and sober just for today. That's my commitment to myself. And you know what they say? We don't have pennies here in Canada anymore. You save up the pennies, your dollars add up. One day at a time may sound like, you know, that's easy. One day at a time may seem petty, but really, if you think about one day at a time, that's all we have. That's what everybody has, one day at a time. If you're in recovery or not, we have one day at a time. That's all we have. Oh, Morgan, I'm 39 years old, and I wish I'd done things different, but I'm glad I'm sober. Well, I'm relatively young. What do you mean relatively young? You are young. 39's nothing. Believe me, it's nothing. I got sober. I'm relatively young. My life was a mess full of drugs and alcohol. Hallelujah. Yep. Join the club. Mine was a mess too, with drugs and alcohol. Like I said, if anybody has any questions, please post me a question. If you have any difficulties in your sobriety, or you have any questions about program that you're into, maybe I can help you out with that, okay? What we're trying to do here is build awareness of alcoholism, and building awareness that recovery is possible, and to have a great life is possible without the alcohol. is very, very possible. And if you're struggling in any way right now, as you're watching me, send me a message, send me a comment, ask me a question, and I'm sure I can help you. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I have no schooling in this area. What I am is a recovering alcoholic like you. That's all I am. And I'm sharing my experience with other people, carrying this message, and I want to let you know that recovery is possible. Everything you ever dreamed of in your life can come true. But alcohol and that whole drinking thing can take it away from us, believe me. You know, Morgan says she's glad she's sober. I'm relatively young, and I know she's enjoying her sobriety. She's always here. She comes here lots to this little live session I do on YouTube. Reason I do it on YouTube is because, not lately, but a lot of times I get people talking or sending messages or comments on my YouTube channel asking me questions. And I said to myself, and I said to my sweetie, that, you know, maybe I should go live once in a while. And if people have any comments they want to talk about or anything about sobriety, they can go ahead and ask me. They can. Just 1 second, please. Wow. So, by the way, I just want to talk about something. I'm getting married. I just want to let everybody know. I'm getting married in September the 3rd of this year. And yeah, and just a little secret, this is an honest program. That's my 3rd time, number 3. I always laugh at that. It's good. Hey, it's good. But I'm getting married September the 3rd to a very lovely person, and we're going to get married at the cottage. Thank you, Morgan. Thank you very much. We're going to get married at my little off-the-grid cottage, and we're going to have family and friends there, and it's going to be a great time. I have a live band too. I have a live country rock band coming, a little bit of country western, and they're going to play a little rock, country rock, right? So it's going to be a lot of fun. And getting married is a big deal, and I understand, you know, it's a huge deal. A lot of people kind of look at me and say, "Why are you doing it?" And well, I'm in love with Brenda, and we have a great life together. We really do. I've been with her for over 3 years now, and she knows what sort of makes me tick, and I understand what makes her tick, and we get along like that. We have a lot of fun. But I'm a big advocate of just living your life to the fullest. And I'm not talking about recovery life, any life that you're involved with. Any life, marriage, whatever you're doing right at this very moment. We need to take a second and tell ourselves we need to live our lives to the fullest. We need to take action and live out our dreams. Live them out. I always say the most expensive property in the world is the graveyard. And what I'm trying to say, because I say that, is because all the broken dreams, the things that people never did, you know, live your life. Don't be one of those people at the end that say, you know, I wish I did that. I wish I did that. Don't be one of those people. It's all right to do it and fail. At least you tried. If you didn't try it and get out there and exert yourself and try something new, if you don't do it, you failed anyways because you never tried. You never tried. And the one thing that I've learned in my sobriety, in my life, is that behind every feeling of fear that we do, if we do new things in our lives and we feel afraid, there's usually a blessing after that. There's usually a great feeling of accomplishment that comes after that. And you sort of step up to another level in your life if you do things that make you afraid. And they don't have to be little big things. They can be little things in your life. And that's one thing I had to learn in my recovery, to do things that challenged me to do things that take me out of my comfort zone. And that was a great thing for my recovery. To get out of my comfort zone is to do little things. Like I say, I can't read and write. Reading in front of a person in early recovery or a crowd was a big, big accomplishment for me. It was a gigantic accomplishment for me. And it made me shake, it made me vibrate. But I did it anyways. And when you do it, you get out there, it's a great confidence builder. I said in one of my other little podcasts here that taking little risks in life, little ones, that make you afraid, make you feel uncomfortable, are really good for building your self-confidence, building your self-esteem, and just making you feel better about the world and yourself. That's the way it works. We don't have to be, Superman and do great big things in our lives. Little things sometimes have big results. They really do. They really, really do. Just go on YouTube and look at other people who have done great things. Sometimes it's the smallest things. Helping other people, volunteering, giving of yourself is a really fantastic thing to do. It really is. And I always say one thing, and I love it, and I love this saying, and you can steal it from me if you want. I always say the last chapter of my life has not been written. I maybe had no control of it, half of it, but I can do things to make my life better. Another question here. Does Brenda drink? Does Brenda drink? Yeah, she does, but she's not an alcoholic. I always say she has a problem with alcohol. You might say, what do you mean a problem with alcohol? Well, she doesn't drink, she has a problem with it. She has one glass of wine, leaves a little bit in the bottom, and doesn't finish it off. I always say, yeah, she has a problem with alcohol, that's for sure. Yeah, she drinks. She's a very, maybe 2 glasses of wine when we go out. Maybe 2 glasses. 1 for sure, 2 glasses. 2 glasses normally. People say, when you're sober, should you go out with an alcoholic? Should you do that? I mean, should you go out with a drinker? Well, there's a lot of people who drink are not alcoholics, and they never will be. And Brenda's one of them. Brenda's one of those people who just has a glass of wine and leaves it. And that's okay with me. And there's a lot of people out there, since I've quit alcohol, there's a lot of people out there that are not drinkers, big drinkers. I noticed that. And I hang around with a lot of people. I don't hang around with alcoholics. I don't hang around with drug abusers. I don't hang around a lot of those kind of people. I really don't. So if they're using a lot or drinking a lot or whatever, I don't associate with them. I really don't. It's not that I feel that I'm better than them or I'm judging them. It's just not for me. I don't want to hang around with people who are alcoholics. Do you still go to AA meetings or not so much anymore? Well, oops. I don't promote Alcoholics Anonymous on this channel. I don't promote any recovery program, and I'm not affiliated with any programs, and I don't speak for any programs. And I always give that disclaimer before I answer some sort of AA question. The reason I do that because, well, it's a public forum and it's, press, radio, and film, stuff like that. Do I still go to AA meetings? Yes, I do. I'm very involved still. I'm very involved in recovery meetings. Very involved. I think it's a big part of my life. And yes, I stick to it. And anybody else, if you're in smart recovery, whatever journey you chose to do for your recovery, I would suggest you always continue with your journey in recovery. Stick too close to those people all the time. And again, it's about commitment. Again, it's about doing it. It's about commitment. Calling up people, helping out, going to meetings, doing whatever you can even when you don't want to. It's about commitment, because that's what it's about. Being an adult is doing things when we don't want to. So going to meetings, staying involved, helping others is a very, very big part of my program, but it's a big part of my life. I try and help people who are out of recovery too. I just don't help, people who are in recovery. I try and go out of my way and give of myself. And that's one of the most valuable things you can do for somebody, is give of yourself. Give of your time, maybe give somebody a ride to work, maybe a phone call. Something like that. Just take some action. Take some action for your recovery. Give it back. Give it back. Like I said, my name is Terry G. And I do this podcast here once a week. And I'm just open to questions. If anybody has any questions, I know Morgan's been my main thing today, my main question person, which I'm very grateful for, because it gets kind of lonely out here in YouTube land. I'm from Ottawa, Canada, the home of the trucker convoy. And it's finally spring and things are looking up. But actually, the reason getting back to why I do this is because people have asked me on my channel, will you ever talk to me, face to face, or is there any time I can ask you questions? So that's one of the main reasons I do it. Another thing I like to ask people, I know I only got a small audience tonight, but what would you like to see on my channel? What would you like to see more of? Or things that interest you when it comes to recovery, either directly about recovery or indirectly about recovery. And another thing I want to ask you is that I'm trying to look for a name of my podcast here and just call it a name. And, silver chat is so common. I don't like to call it that. But if you have any suggestions about a great name or a really funky name I can call my podcast here on a weekly basis, you can make a suggestion about that too. Yeah, I love going to meetings. I know that accountability has helped me so much. Yeah. Commitment and accountability. I listened, I don't like to get on my soapbox, but about accountability. And it's really, really important to be accountable for ourselves. A lot of my problems, I shouldn't say a lot of my problems, but also maturing in sobriety, accountability was really, really important to me. It became important and it's more important to me now, because being accountable for myself makes me more happy for my life, makes me more happy in my life. It really does. It really does. We live in a society that likes to point the finger at everybody. He's to blame or she's to blame or the government's to blame or my boss is to blame. We're always making everybody accountable for our happiness, for our well-being. We have politicians telling us our moral life nowadays, or we have a lot of people around us telling us, or celebrities telling us what's morally correct. And we forget to take accountability for ourselves. You point three fingers at, you're wrong, you're an asshole, you're an idiot. There's a thumb looking back at you. That's where it is. The problem's right here. Terry G's the problem. I'm unhappy sometimes, or I'm unhappy. It's because I need to take a look at myself and I need to be accountable for myself. And being accountable is not being hard. And I'm not saying that, being hard or beating up on yourself. It's not like that at all. Being accountable is being accountable for us. Be accountable for our lives. No one owes me nothing. Nobody. Nobody owes me nothing. I need to take accountability for my life, build some integrity, and build honesty in my life. That's what I really, really am big on. Saying I'm going to be there when I'm going to be there. Doing those sort of things really helps me a lot. Accountability. I love that. No, I love that. I love that word, accountability. Being accountable for your sobriety and your well-being, your emotional, mental, physical, spiritual well-being. You're accountable for that. You're going to be one happy soul when it comes to your recovery. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. You know, yeah, you're very sick. There's a guy here that's just unbelievable. Wow. Just 1 second. I need to block somebody here. You know, people come on this YouTube channel and they say the most obscene things to people. And if you get off on that, well, good for you. Yeah, I just did. I just blocked that person. Yeah, if you get off on that, mister, that's your stuff. But it's not for here. So accountability is very, very important. Anybody else have any questions out there for me? I'm running out of things to talk about. I've been talking for like an hour straight. An hour straight. Any sobriety questions? Anybody? I'm dying out here. Oh, I like laughing. Early recovery. Just give me 1 second. I just was off doing something else. I was just checking something there. So this week I had some bad news happen to me. Well, not happen to me. I heard some bad news. I run an AA meeting. I run a recovery meeting every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. It's a Zoom meeting, and anybody here is welcome to do it. I could send you the link if you want to join us. It's only a few of us there, but everybody's welcome. And you know, I had a person there. His name was Mike, and we found out this week he passed away on Sunday. And he's been a big part of the little group that I have on Saturday mornings. And you know, we're gonna miss him. We're gonna miss him. He's been actively in sobriety, and he'll be missed. Oh, you got a house? Okay. How soon after getting how soon after getting sober should I get a sponsor? Yeah. Oh, you want to go to the meeting? I can send you the link. How can I do the link? Let me just figure that out first. Yeah, thanks, Morgan. Morgan, can you go? I'll send you my email address, and if you don't mind sending me an email, I can send you the link information for the Zoom meeting if you're interested, okay? How's that sound? I'll send it to you right now, my email address. But how soon should you get a sponsor? That's a good question, because I have a few sponsors in early recovery, and it's always suggested to get a sponsor as soon as possible. It's a very big part of sobriety. I sponsor one person, and that's all I do. I sponsor one at a time. If somebody has a problem, I most definitely will help them out. I won't leave them out. I want to sponsor one person. I'd say get a sponsor as soon as possible. And criteria for sponsor, I would say somebody who is stable in their life or in their marriage. I think that's so I read it wrong. How soon after getting sober should I sponsor? Oh, jeez. Oh, I got it now. It's one thing about sobriety, you know, you're laughing at yourself is a really good gift, a really good gift. How soon should I get it? I think, well, some people may disagree with my answer on that one, but I'm going to tell you something. I think if you had 1 day of sobriety and the guy next to you had 1 hour of sobriety, I think you could sponsor him in a certain way. When it comes to the technical part of sobriety, like knowing the steps and all that, it's very important. It's very, very important. You want to teach the person something and teach them about sobriety and all that sort of thing, and I get that part. You want to teach them the books and the readings. But most of sobriety, most of sponsorship, just think of it, no literature. How do they do it then? They just talk to each other. And I think a lot of times we miss that. We miss that part. It's almost like to sponsor somebody, we think we need to be qualified. You know, we need to know all this knowledge. And it's important. It's important. But you can go through the book together. You can go through the 12 and 12 together and learn together. You can do that too. I think sponsorship, myself, anytime is good. Anytime. Lots of people may disagree with me on that one. Sponsoring other people, you know, what are you going to do to the person? Give them a little support? They need some help? Just help them out. Talk to them. If they don't want anything to do with you, they'll just tell you to get lost. But I think if you feel confident in your program and you're feeling really good about it, you should sponsor somebody all the time. If you have, I don't know how many years you have, Morgan, or months or whatever, if you feel confident in something to offer somebody and you don't have a sponsee, I'd probably ask you why you don't have a sponsee. I'd probably think that. Because it's really important too to have a sponsee or somebody that we're sharing our experience with in sobriety. Sponsorship doesn't mean to be perfect. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean we have to be a scholar in recovery. A lot of times, like I say, the little things are sometimes the big things. And my sponsor in recovery has 6 months of recovery more than me. When I met him, he had 1 year, I had 6 months. You have 9 months. You can sponsor somebody easily, Morgan. Easily, you can sponsor somebody. But that's what I think about it all. You know, I don't want to repeat myself, but we put so much emphasis on qualifications in recovery. You know, you got to have this much to do this. I get it. You know, you don't want somebody with 1 day sobriety, being the treasurer or opening up the room, right? You don't want somebody like that. But so much seniority is placed on this. And I understand it, but I think it's overplayed a lot. And I like to think that getting somebody involved sooner than later is better for everybody. And this 2 years, I think there's some groups up here in Ottawa that you need 1 or 2 years, even the chair of meeting. Chair of meeting, you need 2 years of sobriety. I think it's kind of goofy. I really do. If the guy wants to chair or the gal wants to chair, just give them the book and let them chair. Most groups have a floor mat. It's all laid out for them what to do. So they can just follow that very easily. But I get both sides of the coin. But for myself, somebody wants to do service, somebody wants to get active in any program, I think it betters everybody in the community. And with proper guidance, sponsorship, everybody can be benefit from sponsorship and participation, no matter where you are in your recovery. So that's a long way of saying yes. Yeah. Get a sponsee as soon as you can. Being a young lady, 39 years old, sorry, I don't like to blow your age there, I shouldn't do that. But I know there's a lot of women in recovery that need strong, great women to lead them and to help them out. It's really important. There's a lot of guys, and guys I think find it a little easier with getting sponsors and sponsees, but the women I think have a little more difficult time of it. And maybe I'm wrong and off the ball with it, but I really think that's true, that they do. Just 1 second here. Yeah, it will be a really cool experience if you do get a sponsee. You'll be surprised how much it challenges you when you're a sponsor, but also you'll be surprised how much you know. You have 9 months of continuous sobriety. You have 9 months. And that, you'd be surprised how much you know and how much you can pass on to the next individual. It's a fantastic thing to do. It really is. I think it's one of the things in recovery that is losing. In recovery, sponsorship is kind of like, it's not as important as it used to be. And that's only my opinion. But I find that a lot, that it's not as important anymore. And maybe I'm wrong on that, or maybe I'm just giving a general observation of what I'm seeing. But sponsorship is really, really key for both people's recovery. It really is. And one last thing about sponsorship. Everybody says there's a great sponsor. Oh, he's a great sponsor. He's a great sponsor. You know what makes a great sponsor? Is an enthusiastic sponsee. Because if you have an enthusiastic sponsee, it's easy. The rest is easy. But it's those guys or gals you can't even get to go to a meeting or read the book or do anything you suggest. Then it's really hard. It's really, really hard. Okay. Does anybody have any more questions for Terry G? Do you have any suggestions or anything? Okay, I just want to say I'm not an addiction counselor or a therapist, and I have no affiliation with any addiction rehab centers or addiction programs such as alcohol AA or Smart Recovery. Terry G is simply a recovering alcoholic. I like to put that disclaimer up there all the time. Well, I just wrote it up today. Shouldn't say all the time, but I like to put it up because I don't want to be affiliated with that much stuff. Yes, thank you, Terry. You're very welcome. Yes, I tried to be a good sponsee. Yeah. Being a good sponsee is just kind of participating in your recovery. That's what being a good sponsee is all about, I figure, because, our recovery is our own business, right? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it. And same when it comes to recovery. I heard a few things this week about other addiction, about 12-step programs. I was talking to a therapist guy, a guy I know, and he said that one of the train of thoughts nowadays when it comes to recovery 12-step meetings is not to suggest people, just 1 second, not to suggest that people go into recovery 12-step groups right away. And I was kind of shocked to hear him say that. Not to go in, not to promote 12-step programs to people when they're sort of fresh on the wagon or fresh in recovery. And I was kind of shocked to hear that, to be honest with you, because I thought, the sooner you get them into these programs, the sooner you get these people into these 12-step programs, or you get them into Smart Recovery, whatever they choose, secular groups, whatever sort of journey they choose for their recoveries, the better. But there's a new study saying maybe not. And the reason being is because there's kind of a stigma in recovery groups. Yeah, believe it or not, that's what they were saying. And the stigma, or not sort of the stigma, the expectations in 12-step groups, and it's not even directly implied in the groups, is that No, but yeah, that person is wrong. I think but this is the theory of it. This is the theory of it. And it's quite interesting because they're saying that the reason they think that is because 12-step programs have a expectation of people will get sobriety right off the bat. And if the person relapses, there is an indirect feeling that the person's a failure. They can't get the program. And the people pick up on that. The newcomers into these groups are picking up on that, and it's creating a problem with new people in recovery. I thought it was very interesting. And again, I think it might be true to a certain extent, but not in my point of view, but I thought it was very, very interesting. But a lot of people are getting away from the standard 12-step recovery method of sobering up people. They really are. There's a lot of new stuff that's coming about. And I don't think the 12-step programs have anything to worry about, but there's a lot of new stuff that's out there that's coming about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut it down. The hour's up. I just want to thank Morgan for not coming around. I don't feel so alone tonight. She was my own person who gave me all the questions. I thought that was terrific. And I'm very grateful for having you tonight. And you sure made the hour more interesting and more entertaining and a little more fun to get through, because it would have been a little more difficult without some questions, some other things to talk about. I just want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. And recovery is possible, and you're not in it alone. Get in there, get into a great group, read the information, get involved in that home group. Get active in that home group, and sobriety will be yours for the taking. Your last chapter of your life is not written. And let's make a great life for you, okay? This channel is all about awareness. It's all about telling people that they are not alone in this business. And addiction is a awful thing. It really is. Okay. So I'm Terry G. If you like what you hear, leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. And I'll be back. I don't know if I'll be back next week. I might be back the following week, but just check up in my channel to see when I'll be back. But I will be back, and we'll do this again. Okay. And I want to thank you everybody for showing up tonight. It's been great. So as usual, stay safe, stay sober. We're in this together. God bless. And I'll see you next week. And thanks a lot for all your support. Ciao for now. Bye-bye. Thanks, Morgan.